When we look at C17, we have to think back to when we were creating drawings on the drafting table and how we were able to determine if drawings were full and half size. If you look at the bottom of this drawing, it actually tells you it's half size right here. And also if we look, and this isn't even the overall, but we can still see if we add these dimensions together, this is going to add up to equal 11. That's already too big to fit on a piece of paper. So we can tell, hopefully automatically by looking at this, that there's no way for this to be created full size. So we can go ahead and pull up in AutoCAD a proto fractional and save this as a proto half size. And then we have really 4 things to change in order to make sure that this is correct. I'm going to type in dim scale, and what I'm going to change is the dim scale from 1 to 2. Right now my arrows, my text height, all of that is set to 1/8 of an inch. Even my spacing for the extension lines past arrows is set to the 1/8. We want to go ahead and double all of this. So I'm going to do dim scale and then type in 2 and hit enter. Next I want to type in LT scale. So the LT scale is going to be for the spaces between like our gaps and short dashes, and really for center lines, and if we do hidden lines. So we want to go ahead and make this have a scale of 2. I now want to go ahead and change my snap settings. So in the O snap area, the drop down, if we click object snap settings, we can select snap and grid and change our spacing from 1/8 to 1/4. Hopefully this makes sense. We want to double everything. So we're going to go ahead and take 1/8 and double that. So 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8, which equals 1/4. I hit OK. The next thing that I want to go ahead and change is my M leader style. And we did a few things with this in our A proto. So I'm going to go ahead and hit modify. And in leader structure, at the bottom it says scale, it says specify scale. Let's go ahead and change this to 2. Hit OK, set current, close. Once you have all of that done, go ahead and make sure you save twice. And before we move on to see how to create this drawing, I want to go ahead and explain a couple of things of why we did what we did. So if you look right here, the text may not look that small, but when you zoom out, it does look fairly small compared to the entire drawing. So if I type in dim scale, you're going to notice that nothing is going to change when I type in 2. However, now if I add a dimension, and I'm going to do really the same dimension I had before, look at the size difference between the 2 1/4 and this 2 1/4. Everything's double. So it now looks like the drawing's not as large as it really is because we haven't had text that's super tiny. Now watch our LT scale. If I do LT scale and I type in 2, you see how the spacing now changed. This now looks like a full-size drawing, even though it's really not. We don't want our drawing or our text or dimensions or arrows to appear too small. So that was why we had to go through the steps of creating a half-size drawing. So now I want to go ahead and talk about inscribed versus circumscribed. You are going to have to know the difference between these two, not just for tests and an exam at the end of the semester, but also because you're going to be using this information to create different types of polygons with our drawing for C17. Now, we've done polygon before. We've done polygon for like 3 sides and 4 sides. However, we've never done polygons like this, and we've never used inscribed or circumscribed. So I do want to go ahead and remind you guys of the difference between these. We have seen these terms with our geometric construction unit. However, if we look here, we can see our polygon is inside of the circle, it's inscribed. And for circumscribed, our polygon is outside the circle. The most important thing to realize when looking at these drawings is that the circles for both of these are the exact same size, even though they don't look the same. And that's all almost like an optical illusion because of how our polygons are. So again, just make sure you know for inscribed, the polygon is inside the circle, and for circumscribed, the polygon is outside the circle. Now that you understand inscribed and circumscribed, I want to show you the drawing and allow you guys to look at it and hopefully realize that you know how to do a majority of it. So in AutoCAD, I'm going to pull up a drawing that you guys should be able to do, or at least this amount of work you should be able to do on your own. So all I did was create this line. I just made a really long line and then created where this line was, offset, offset, created the circles, created the circle, and then I was able to, from this line, offset up and offset down. Now what we do need to do from this point is go ahead and create our fillet. So we're going to have to, we could do circle and then TTR, or just T for tangent radius, and create this arc, but I've got to make sure that I know that this is a radius of 1/2. So I can do F enter. I can go ahead and type in R. We always have to type in R for radius. and then I can do 1.5. So I'm going to select the circle and select this line here. Now just to prove that you could do this either way, I can do circle TTR, select here, here, and type in 1.5. In doing this worked the same way as if I was doing fillet. However, now I've got to do a little bit more by having a trim. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next phase. So you're just going to see me, I'm just moving my screen. I've already created these drawings so it goes a little bit faster for the video. You guys know how to trim, you know how to lengthen, and also how to add center lines. So once you have this part done, we can go ahead and now start working on adding our polygon. So I'm going to go ahead and type in POL for polygon, and if I want to add this polygon first, if I look at this drawing, I can see that there are 8 sides, it's going to be an octagon, and I can also see that it's going to be circumscribed and then it has a radius of 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and type in 8 for the number of sides. I need to specify the center point, so I know the center point, just like I would for a circle, is going to be right here. And then am I going to do inscribed or circumscribed? Based on the drawing, it says circumscribed. Then I can go ahead, and it's asking for the radius. I can type in 3/8 since that was the radius of my polygon. I can do the same thing here. I'm going to do polygon, and this one is a hexagon, so I'm going to do 6 sides, specify the center point. This one is circumscribed as well. And then this is really important. A lot of students, because it is asking for the radius, they want to just type in 2 1/4. They don't want to think about the fact that 2 1/4 is really the diameter of my polygon. So I've got to cut that in half. So this should be 1 1/8. And we're going to have to learn a new command because this is not correct. I need to rotate this. So I can type in RO for rotate, select the object that I want to rotate, and it's asking me to specify the base point. A lot of students want to pick this point right here because they want to rotate this up. But look, if I specify this as the base point, that's not how I want to move my polygon. So I'm going to do RO again. I'm going to select my polygon, and now my base point I'm going to choose as the center point right here. And then I can just rotate this by moving my cursor and click on this vertical center line. Once I have that done, I'm really completely done with the drawing. I can go ahead and now add my dimensions, add text, lengthen center lines if I haven't already done that. I do want to put on a couple of things that are a little bit different than our typical full-size drawings. Whenever we create a drawing half-size, we're still creating the drawing based on the dimensions we're given. So this is really 11. So when I offset over 11 inches. So none of that changes. Another thing to kind of keep in mind is that if we're doing everything half size, we made everything so it's twice as big. So our drawing isn't super big and everything really small. Everything still looks equal and even. How we're going to offset this is by creating a title block that's twice as big. So everything looks normal, but our drawing is really a lot larger. We've just kind of scaled everything to meet that. So what I also have to keep in mind with doing is that some things like our center lines and our text will need to be doubled as well. So instead of going 3/8, we're going to go 3/4 past. Instead of doing text size at an 1/8 of an inch, we've got text here and here, we're going to do 1/4 of an inch as well. Please make sure that you include all necessary dimensions. I'm not saying that this is dimensioned correctly. I'm just kind of showing you guys a majority of how it should look, as well as to be able to talk to you about reminding how we dimension arcs and how we dimension circles. Remember, circles with diameter and then arcs with radius. I do want to point this, I would say more of a circle than an arc, out to you guys and have you look at the fact that I dimension this as diameter. This is more than really half of a circle, so it's more than what I would consider as an arc. So since it's a majority of a circle, we want to go ahead and dimension this as having a diameter. Other than that, as long as you're following kind of the basic protocols for dimensioning, you guys should be fine. The only other things that I really want to talk about is when we are adding a title block. So I'm going to go ahead and select my title block. And what I need to do, if I hit OK, this title block is way too small. So I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to go through these options with you really quickly and see what I should have clicked. So I'm going to change the scale to 2, just like we did our LT scale and our dim scale to 2. We're going to do the same thing here. I can change all of these to 2, or I can just hit uniform scale and hit OK. And now I can add my title block very easily. I'm not going to fill this out. I'm just going to hit OK. And you can see that this is now perfect. I'm ready to print. all I need to do is make sure that my print settings are correct. There's going to be one thing that we change when we print, and I'm not going to go through how to change all of this, but I do want to make sure that you guys know to change this from typical 1 to 1 to 1 to 2. If you change this right here and you do everything else like you normally would, the window, the plot, changing the printer name, all that, everything should print fine. Just make sure you hit preview, make sure everything looks good, and then upload that to Schoology.